Welcome to Mental Wealth, the podcast to invest in your mind. Here I will help you make sense of your mind and behaviours, giving you the tools to have your best life. There is so much to share, so let's get into this episode and explore another great topic. Welcome to episode 29. Can't believe I'm up to 29 episodes now in this podcast, so I'm really excited to share this episode with you. I'm delighted to say I've got a very special guest with me, and we are going to be talking about showing up. But how do we show up? How do we get what we want? So firstly, I'd like to welcome Pam Shanker to this episode.
Hi, Alison. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Brilliant. So tell everyone a little bit about you first, Pam, so they know who you are and who I'm sharing this space with.
Yes, so my name is Pam Shanker, and I was a civil servant for many years. I was actually a civil servant for 28 years. And then in 2016, I read an article about a lady that had been really successful in property, and just thought, I'd like to do that. I didn't know anything about property other than what I'd watched on the television and what I'd seen on Homes Under the Hammer. But I just thought I'd love to do that. And by the end of the weekend, I'd found out all about her and decided I was going to give up my job and go. She was running a course to give back to women. So I just thought, I'm going to give up my job and go into and have a go at this. I was very fortunate in that I had enough money in the bank for 2 years' salary on one side, but it meant that I was in a very fortunate position that I could do that, but I had to make it work. There was no there was no choice in that. I had to succeed, but I just knew in that moment that it was the right thing for me, and that whatever it took, whatever obstacles I had to overcome, I would succeed. And I just had that unshakable belief and knowledge that it would all be fine. And so I gave up my job and went into property. And fast forward 6 years now, 7 years, and I've been buying property for myself and my family, and also helping other investors create their wealth and grow their wealth through property. And then last year, I was led into coaching. When I say led, the universe led me into sharing my expertise and knowledge with other people. And I just found after COVID, I loved talking to people. I'd missed people, as a lot of us had. And I just wanted to get into that space where, I could make a difference and serve and help other people. And so I'm now a transformative life and business coach. And I wake up every day and I feel very grateful that this is how I spend my day.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Lovely. So all sorts of different angles in terms of what got you here, which I think is always interesting, because some people do seem to get quite hung up on, I need to know exactly where I'm going and which direction. And actually, life is never quite that straightforward, is it? And I think sometimes we need to be okay with the fact that there'll be different routes to get us to different parts. I mean, my journey was definitely that. But I think the thing that stood out for me the most with what you said, Pam, is that you knew that you would have to do whatever it took. And there's a real strength in that. But I think something I like to pay attention to is making sure that balance for that is comfortable. Because sometimes when people make a big change, they push themselves so much that they fall off the end of the cliff and they don't succeed, versus having to know that you've got to do whatever it takes. And I think there's something in there, isn't there, about how do you balance that? If you are listening to this and you're not sure, you've always wanted to do something, it could be set up your own business, it could be go for promotion, it could be anything, actually. How do you balance that? I think that's often a challenge, isn't it, for people?
It is. And I think you have to be clear on your vision. So when I say clear on your vision, you have to have an idea of what it is you're trying to achieve. It doesn't have to be crystal clear at the outset. It becomes clearer as you take the steps. But then as well, you just have to have faith that you will be led in the right direction. And if you take one step at a time, then the next step will be clearer. I liken it to a staircase into the sky, and I'm walking up that staircase, and I can see my vision is up there. I can see it. Some parts of my vision are super, super clear, and other bits are a little bit hazy, and I need to think about a little, that needs to become clearer. But the step that I'm on right now is really clear. There's no mist or any clouds on the stair that I'm on. But the next step, there's still some mist on there, and if you just imagine this staircase going up with clouds coming down, and then what happens for me is that the next step just becomes clear as you're taking this step. Then the next step will become clear, and then I step onto that, and then the next step will become clear. And it's just all about taking one step at a time and not trying to fast forward too much, overthink too much, get too ahead of yourself. Yes, no, understand where you're trying to go, and then just take one step at a time.
I think that's so powerful, isn't it? Because we can get so stuck thinking we need to be going faster or pushing even harder, and actually just being okay with where you are, the step that you're on right now, and being able to kind of balance yourself, if you like, and think, I can see that this bit is right, and I'm going to do this bit, I'm going to focus on that. Because otherwise, what I notice then is if people, like you say, overthink it or think too far ahead, because the brain hasn't got a reference, that's when the self-doubt can start coming in. That's when you can start questioning yourself, and that holds you back just in itself, doesn't it? That pausing. So for me, I love your metaphor, and I think it's really powerful to just know that, it is going to be a bit cloudy, a bit higher up, but let's just take each step as it comes. Yes. And it forces us then to do what I'm really keen for us all to do, is to chunk things down. So, and I like the fact that you're saying, I know I'm clear on this, and then next is the next.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah. And I like to reverse engineer things. So where do we want to be in 5 years' time? Where do we want to be in 2 years' time? Where would we like to be in a year's time? And then even down to the next month and the next week, and what can I do today? So it's very much about just take one step a day, whatever it is and however small. I'm doing some marketing at the moment, and every day I just go in and connect on Facebook for a period of time, and whether I just take one step a day in terms of all my goals. Just keep moving, because it's progress, not perfection. I think that's really nice, isn't it, to remember that anything is potentially progress if you're asking yourself, what's the one small thing that I can do today for my bigger goal or my chunk of my goal, rather than have something needing to be perfect or something that is not quite what you think it's meant to be, but what might it lead you to? And I think that's where we need to get more brave to do that, don't we? Yeah. It is about having faith. The thing is that I believe that anybody can have anything. It doesn't matter who you are, your age, your gender, or your background. You can be, do, and have whatever you want with a clear vision, a plan, and you take action. And I know, we can say, oh, well, I'm never going to go to the moon. No, you're not. But if you're really into the moon, then you can actually go and do other things that might satisfy that objective. We can. If you want to start a business, you can. If you want to, you can do whatever you want, literally. So I'm working with a lady, as you know, I'm a coach. I'm working with a lady, and in the period of time that we've been working together, she's in the mid-50s, and she's decided she wants to learn to swim. Brilliant. It's about looking at where do we want to be in the future? Imagine a clean piece of paper, literally a white sheet of paper. You've no constraints. You can make it up as you go along. You can literally just create something new and just play with that. And then, yes, I know we've got our current lives and we've got a lot going on, but how do we go from here to there and transition and take everybody with us that needs to come, and all the things that need to come with us? How do we transition so that we're moving to this space where, we're living in joy and we're living doing the things that we want to do, because we don't have to do the same thing in the same way day after day after day. And a lot of people have fallen into that trap. And I did for 28 years. I was going to be there till the day I retired. So I had another 20 years left. And it was this wake up that I had. And I just thought, you know what, I could do this for someone else for another 20 years, or I could actually go in all this great energy I've got, I could actually go and do something for me. So I did.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's just challenging that you don't have to do things in the same way.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's checking, isn't it, with the inner voice, that little voice that might be just listening and hearing you, just making some plans and having a bit of energy and something exciting. And that little voice might be saying, well, who do you think you are? And you can't do that. And it could be not even your voice. It could be your voice, but an old voice. It's just keeping an eye on those things, because they're the things that literally get in the way. It's not actually usually all the other stuff. Yeah. In my experience.
Yeah. And I have goals, which I'm very visual, which I visualize off to my right hand side at the front of me, off to the right hand side, and my goals are over there. So when I'm looking at my goals, I look diagonally off to the right, and there's a clear path, and that's where I'm going. And then my niggles, so my little voice, lives in the back left hand side, and this little chattering can start. And I actually consciously look away from that little voice towards that goal and just think to myself, the goal is so strong that, and actually I'm fortunate now to say that I programmed myself in such a way that my vision and goal and is so strong I can quieten the chatter. It's a skill that can be learned, and I have learned to quieten that chatter. Because I'm very clear. That's louder. One is a lot louder now than the other.
Yeah. And I think that brings me to something that I talk a lot about, is being focused on what you want. Because often, yes, if you wrote down, I want to be fit, or I want to be successful, or that's all kind of things, but what then the noise and the thinking often is all around what you don't want. So why do you want to get fit? Well, I don't want to be ill. Why do you want to be successful? Well, I don't want to be skint. Or and people end up spending all their time in the other side of it, don't they? And they lose themselves because they're so focused on what they don't want to have happen.
Yeah. And one thing that I do with my clients, because it's all about starting where you are, and we always start with success. So talk about fitness as that being an example. I would get my clients to have a look at, what's gone really well up to now. Where are we and what's going really well? You might walk to the bus stop, you might do an extra 5 minutes doing this, or you might, even walking the dog, or whatever it is that you're doing, or those healthy choices that you're making. We might not be perfect, but we might be taking some really great steps and some really great actions. So write those actions down. What are we doing really well, and what can we celebrate? Because we should always be celebrating. We always we're quite hard on ourselves, and we berate ourselves a lot because we've not done this and we've not done that and we've not done the other. But actually, if we start with, well, we're doing really well at this and we're doing really well at that and we're doing really well at the other, write that down on one half of your piece of paper if you imagined, and you drew a line down the middle. On the left hand side is your successes, and on the right hand side is actually, this is what I'd like it to look like, and this is how I would like it to improve. And then what you've done then is you've created a gap, and that's the gap that you're going to work through to get to your goal.
Yeah, I love that. So it's so important, isn't it, to acknowledge where you are and what is good, because again, we're wired really to be focused on what we haven't achieved, what we haven't got, what we haven't been able to make. A lot of people out there, I work with a lot of people who are finding themselves just stuck in that routine thinking of, oh, well, this hasn't happened, that hasn't worked out very well, that hasn't been what I wanted it to be. And in that, when we're in that space, that's where we often miss opportunities. Yeah. We miss the things that are going to help you because you're too busy either down in the dirt, in the hole. I call them rabbit warrens. We're stuck down this rabbit warren and we can't see anything possible, options, available things. So when we are able to look and be really clear on what it is that you're aiming for, then so many opportunities come, don't they?
Absolutely. And you have to, I think this is why it's so powerful to connect with your goals. Spend some time really sitting down and thinking about what will make your heart happy. What will you really enjoy doing? And then I would invite people to focus on those every day. Literally just have a look at if they're written in a book, if they're on a vision board, literally just look at them every day. And then step into the feeling of actually having achieved that. And then what that does is it just keeps those goals at the forefront of your mind. And you're actually, your reticular activating system is then going to filter in those opportunities that are linked in with those goals, where rather than what would have happened previously, it would have filtered them out. If it knows that you're looking for something and you're focusing on something, it will filter in those opportunities. So the opportunities were probably always there, but you never saw them before. It's like when you buy a red car or a red polo specifically, on the day you buy it, you see 10. On the day before, you probably didn't see any. It's what your mind is focusing on. And one other thing that I would say is that in terms of being positive and negative, whatever you look for, you will find. So you will get confirmation. The universe and the world will give you confirmation of whatever it is you're looking for. So if you're looking for negative things in life and things are not working out for you, then you will find proof of that. But if actually you go out with a more positive frame of mind and look for positives, then you will actually find them. You will find.
I always think our thoughts are like a torch. Whatever you're thinking, you shine a torch on. So if you're thinking of possibility and options, then you'll see stuff and think, oh, that might work for me. And if you're thinking, oh, nothing ever works for me, I'm not going to get any luck here, things don't happen, do they? You don't find that car parking space.
No.
But I think the other thing that I would like to just chat about is remembering, and again, it's all stuff that I say all the time, but remembering if you are going to show up in your own life, in the version of your life that you want to create. So we're focused on the things that we want to have in your life. That means opportunities will come. I think the other thing that I think is really important for us to say here is if you are going to be taking a bigger step, a small step, I don't care what size the step is, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, it might feel and probably will feel uncomfortable. Because if you are comfortable, it means you're not stretching. It means you're inside your comfort zone. There's nothing new there. Mm-hmm. So often I'm working with people and reminding them that something that they're talking about doing feels a bit, ooh, I don't know, can I do it? Great. That just means you're on the edge of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that is a place that we've got to get more comfortable being. Otherwise, we just stay the same, don't we? And we will be doing the same thing with different day.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you describe that on the edge of your comfort zone, because that I feel it. I feel it in the same way. I look at it as though it's a breakthrough. I get a mixture of fear and excitement all mixed up together. And when I get that feeling and it's like, oh my goodness, you just think, and it would be so easy to turn around and go the other way. But actually, because I've got this vision off to the right-hand side, I just keep thinking, well, that's the next step. And I'm not going to get beyond that unless I take that next step. So I force myself to just get through it. Obviously, be kind to yourself as well. But, just take the step and make that breakthrough. And, oh, my goodness, the reward of actually having done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant, isn't it? I mean, I think this is the thing. We don't like discomfort. We don't like fear. We don't like to feel unsettled. We don't like to have uncertainty. Human brain is a certainty making machine. But if you're going to do something new, fresh, there is no reference. So guess what? It's going to feel a bit uncomfortable. You're going to have feelings of uncertainty, of fear even. You might feel very vulnerable. But in that moment of just pushing yourself in that comfort zone, you're being courageous, you're pushing yourself, and guess what? There'll be something fresh and new at the other side.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's the thing that, one of the things that really stands out for me with this conversation is to remember that you are going to feel uncomfortable. So trying to avoid that feeling of discomfort.
Yeah.
Is something. Go on.
I was just going to say, I know that it's the right thing when I get that feeling. I've just learned that with that feeling comes, it's an acknowledgement that it's definitely the next thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's not just a little thing to do, I would say as well. It's to recognise that this isn't a little thing to do, that this is actually quite a big step. It's a big step in my learning journey. It's a big step in overcoming maybe even some limiting beliefs, or overcoming some confidence issues, or, the first time I stood up and gave a speech, or the first time I stood and did some, motivational work, or the first time I got on stage. Every first time brings with it this feeling. And then you only need to do it once. And the next time, it's just so much easier.
And that's it. You can look back on life. I always remind people that you might be nervous about doing something new tomorrow, but look at all the times that you've already done all those breakthroughs.
Absolutely.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And actually just knowing how to manage them so that you can then kind of show up in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think something that I think is really useful to remember here is we're kind of talking about big goals here. So potential breakthroughs, big things that you want to achieve. You might want to leave a job. You might want to leave a relationship. You might want to do something brand new and crazy. But we're also talking about just day to day.
Yeah.
And it's that balancing between having that bigger vision and knowing that it's the right thing for you. I was the same. I left the NHS after 24 years and I didn't really have much of an idea of what it was all going to look like, but I just knew that I needed to do it. But then in between, there's that day-to-day activity that's going on that we need to kind of get right as well. So for me, it's that I've got sort of that vision of looking at your steps up into the sky where my big goals might be. And you might get to one set of steps and then, there's another set because hopefully you've got something else to go. But then in that day-to-day choices, setting your intention, thinking about it, knowing it's going to feel a bit uncomfy. And it's just all this. What I notice with people is all that noise they think is their own capacity, their own possibilities. And it's not. It's just the way that we are wired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I again, focusing on success, and just those little micro wins. I think I've heard you use that word before. In our day, setting a good intention for the day and celebrating our successes throughout the day. I've just got into the habit of writing down the things that I do in a day. You might wonder, well, why? What's the point in that? But as I do things, I just write it down, and so I already plan. I already have my appointments in my diary and the list of jobs that I've got or would like to do, and I tick those off. So it's not that I'm writing down, but it's the extra things that I'm doing. So that at the end of the day, instead of looking at my to-do list, which is still massive and will never be completed ever, I can actually look at the day that I did do and think, wow, look at that. That was amazing. I've done all of that. Let's celebrate that success, in all those micro wins and all the extra bits that I've done and everybody I've fitted in and spoken to and all the big chunky work I've done. I'm really celebrating that because I think we should always keep looking at what we've done.
Definitely.
I know we have to look at and focus on moving forwards, but just keep focusing on what you've done and celebrate what you've done, and then look at the next step.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's your motivation. Really, that's where your motivation comes from to keep going. Is to be able to pause and say, I've achieved these things. I'm a big fan of a to-do list, not a to-do list.
Yes.
And a to-do list, it helps the mind so much because it means you be realistic. You look at what else is going on in terms of what you're going to set, your intentions are. And then, of course, you get your ticks, your realistic ticks, but also your real strong sense of, yeah, today was a good day. And, we need that. Children are praised for everything that they do all day long. And then as soon as we become adults, we don't have any of that. So we've got to do it ourselves.
We do. And we never do.
No.
It's something that we consciously should be doing.
I agree.
And something that I advocate for everybody to do.
Yep,
just get written down what you've done and give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, high five yourself, definitely.
Absolutely.
I think otherwise we're too focused then on all the shoulds, oughts, the pressure, the things that you've made up in your head. I mean, I talk about this quite a lot in this podcast, sort of the thoughts that we have that are causing us a great big load of hassle.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the choices that we need to make.
Yeah, and I believe that we are exactly where we need to be right now. Whoever we are, wherever we are exactly where we need to be right now. And, we're here as a result of everything that's gone before. And today we can choose to do something different tomorrow. But celebrate where we are today, because we are who we are because of what's happened and where we are. I find a sense of calm when I actually say that to myself. I am exactly where I need to be right now. It actually makes me feel calm.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
Yeah, I think some people struggle with that because if they are in a space that's not good, not a healthy space. And for me, I would always help them then be able to think, okay, what am I not doing in this space that's good for me? What am I doing too much of that's not good for me? Because otherwise we do feel quite trapped and quite stuck. And obviously that's something that isn't a good space to be in. But there's usually something that you're doing in any situation that actually is causing you more of a problem than the actual situation. And that's the bit that I feel we have choices and control over that then changes up the outcome.
Yeah.
But I think, I genuinely believe that too, Pam. I think, all things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Yeah.
And being able to pay attention to maybe the why, which I love to help people stay curious as to why they might be in this situation. Why might this be happening for you right now? And there's usually something really meaningful that's been brought to their attention. And sometimes that can come from your physical body. Sometimes that can come from your mind. Sometimes that comes from your behaviours and the way that you are doing things.
And to ask the question, what do I need right now to get to this place that I would like to be?
Yeah. And I think that can be really that drilled down. What do I need today? What do I need right now? I was working with somebody this morning and, what she needed to do was actually take a day off. It was as literal as that. It was, she was tired. She was not sleeping very well, not feeling like she was performing to her best ability. And actually she had a course she was trying to do as well as her work, and she actually just realised, I just need to take the pressure off myself and take some time off.
Absolutely.
And then when I asked her how you feel now, she was like, relieved.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what she all needed to do is, what do you need right now to be able to get yourself out of this. And it isn't necessarily an answer to the big questions. It's just that right now. And that's where your motivation lives. That's where your kind of good stuff lives.
And I think sometimes when we're running faster and faster and faster and faster, and we can feel ourselves going at this pace, but it's not letting up and it's just going faster. I think in my experience, the best thing for me to do is just to stop and step off.
Yeah.
And walk away, actually, you know, and go for a walk, or go and, you know, go out for a couple of hours, or, you know, go and do something to switch off all this action. You know, I mean, I am, you know, have these goals and I'm working towards them, and you know, sometimes you can just keep pushing, and that just gets just louder and faster and quicker, and actually in that space as well, you're not allowing things to happen to you. You're forcing the issue all the time. So there are things that are going to come to you naturally. And if you're pushing too hard, and trying to control things too much, you're not allowing things to come to you. So just by stepping away, it actually allows things to come to you as well.
I love that. I think that's so important, isn't it? Because yes, we keep focused on what we'd like, or work out what we'd like first, then keep focused on it. But sometimes we just need to be, don't we? And just allow some things to just take. Because otherwise it'll feel like you are literally relentlessly pushing and pushing, and that is in itself quite tiring. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts and your wisdom with us, Pam.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Brilliant. So we've got all your details in the show notes so that people can find you, but I'd love you to tell everyone quickly about your cafe.
Oh, yes. So I run the Universe Cafe, which is a pop-up cafe. It's in North Manchester in Rochdale once a month. And I also run a weekend retreat with that twice a year. And the principle is that regardless of who you are, your age, your gender or your background, you can be, do and have whatever you want with a clear vision, a plan, and you take action. And that it's if you were to find it on Facebook, it's called Law of Attraction Manchester UK the Universe Cafe, and we talk about the law of attraction, how we can make it work for us, how we can manifest, and how we incorporate all of that into our vision, our goals, and get the universe to help us get there quicker. So we all share synchronicities. It's really good fun, great atmosphere. Lots of people come, and it is a workshop, and people come and work on their own things. And there's been some amazing things happen with the people in the group.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Brilliant. A nice ending, nice positive ending for this episode. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Pam.
Thank you.
In next week's episode, I'm actually going to share the space with my very good friend, Naomi Victoria, and she and I are going to talk about Christmas, but we're going to talk about the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. So I hope you can join me then. Thank you for listening and sharing in this episode of Mental Wealth. Remember, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast. My last question to you is, what is the one small thing that you can take action on from this episode? Message me on Instagram or through our website with questions you'd like me to explore. You'll find the links in the show notes. I'll be back with more tools and tips to make sense of your mind in the next episode. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. Bye for now.